Symbolism, secession, neo-romanticism, and other stylistic trends spreading from Western Europe and forming art in Vilnius at the beginning of the 20th century also influenced artistic creation in Vilnius and the Vilnius region during later decades. After the independent states of Lithuania and Poland arose from the ruins of the empires that lost the First World War, the ownership of the capital of the former Grand Duchy of Lithuania became a reason for disagreements between these two neighboring countries. After long diplomatic and military battles, Vilnius became a part of Poland for 2 decades. The multinational fabric of artistic life in Vilnius that naturally formed at the beginning of the century and which was especially colorful, viable and open to new ideas was completely destroyed. Almost all Lithuanian artists who had worked here moved to the independent Lithuania. Vilnius lost the privilege of being the catalyst for new ideas provided by status as the capital city, and only remained as a spiritually significant center and the peak of national aspirations. The city and the entire country were condemned to the fate of being one of the most remote provinces of the Polish border. During the 20s and the 30s, Vilnius became a strong center for the spread of neoclassical and neo-romantic art, but it mostly lacked exhibitions of newer artistic trends and artists who worked in that direction. It was not a coincidence that the artistic life of the Vilnius region concentrated around the Vilnius Artists Association, which was founded in 1920, and which organized annual review exhibitions. Its members announced the need to renew classical artistic values and especially highlighted Vilnius-like artistic autonomy and the connection with the traditions of the art school of the old Vilnius University. They differed from the Polish artistic trends of that time in a retrospective attitude towards art and towards different manifestation of its styles. Most painters from Vilnius who were of the older generation and were of Polish origin belonged to that association. They were simply called the School of Vilnius. Ludomir Sledzinski, the ideologist of the School of Vilnius, and his followers are the most well-known representatives of the Vilnius type of neoclassicism in painting. They proclaimed their objective to create a new synthesis in painting that was based on monumentality of external forms, the drawing's priority with respect to color, and the coalescence of art and crafts. In the painting of Ludomir Sledzinski, the influence of St. Petersburg classical art and Italian neoclassical art blended with the historic Vilnius tradition. The works of Kazimieras Kwiatowskis, Edvardas Karniejus, and partially the works of Benediktas Kubickis, Kazimiera Adamska-Rubienė, and Krystyna Wróblewska represent this school. The fluctuation among the traditions of the 19th century, the neoclassicism and the manifestation of avant-garde art, is characteristic of the works of the sculptors from Vilnius, Boleslovas Balzukevičius, Petras Hermanovičius, Rapolas Jakimavičius, and Edvardas Giedraitis, as well as the work of the painter and graphic artist Jurgis Hopinas. It is also characteristic of the work of the graphics artist Gracionas Achremas Achremovičius. The attention to monumentality that was actively expressed by Vilnius sculptors played an important role in the vitality of neoclassical tendencies in art. A competition for creating a monument for the poet Adomas Mickevičius, which was held as many as 3 times, though the sculpture was never created, is worth mentioning. Bronislavas Jamontas was the most important representative of another especially pronounced Vilnius painting trend, neo-romanticism. The influences of the secession and even Baroque styles are present in his moody landscapes, created with tempera, gouache and aquarelle. Sometimes these echoes intertwine with cubistic and impressionistic studies of nature motifs. Motifs of the romantic landscapes, often Vilnius landscapes, are also characteristic of the works of the painter and graphic artist Mykolas Rauba, painter Stanislavas Matusekas, the graphic artists Levas Dobžinskis, Leonas Kosmulskis, Valentinas Romanovičius, Kozma Čiurila, Mykolas Sevrukas, Eduardas Kučinskis, Romana Gintilovna, Boleslovas Matsutkevičius, and other artists. In 1931, a group of artists who separated from the Vilnius Artists Association banded together. It was called the Association of Vilnius Independent Artists, and it represented the academic trend. Czeslovas Vierusas Kowalskis, Mariona Stepanas Kuliesza, Czeslovas Znamierovskis, and Eugenia Sienkiewicz-Psielgowska were the most prominent members. Artists who were born in Vilnius or artists of different nationalities who followed different traditions and newer trends and who moved to Vilnius showed their works in exhibitions organized by the association. The work of Vytautas Kairiūkštis should be considered a certain exception in the panorama of moderate and conservative artistic trends that dominated in Vilnius. This artist created cubist and impressionist works, and in the year 1923, together with Stseminskis, he organized the New Art Exhibition. It became the most prominent manifestation of the avant-garde style of that time in Vilnius. A wooden monument for Adomas Mickevičius, created from cubist forms by Zbigniew Pronaszk from Krakow in Vilnius in 1924, was another pronounced sign of avant-garde. However, it was not understood by the local community and was rejected by it. Quite a few artists of Jewish descent also worked in Vilnius. Mozė Leibovskis, Rapolas Chvolestas, Bencionas Cukermanas, Jokūbas Šeras, Hadasa Gurevič, Bencionas Michtonas, Jokūbas Černockis and Fania Lev contributed to Vilnius painting with a unique artistic feeling and interesting motifs. Their elements of cubism, expressionism and constructionism enriched the graphic arts, which had been oriented towards historic and artistic traditions. The diminished status of Vilnius resulted in a very small number of construction projects during the time of Polish occupation. The city started growing more rapidly only from 1931, though architects of more famous buildings of that time were not local. While the rationalist, functionalist and constructionist ideas were spreading throughout Europe, there were only a few innovative attempts at modernism in Vilnius architecture, and only some of its features were prominent. Contrasts between rectangular and cylindrical content, and contrasts between openwork and level surfaces, as well as new decorative materials such as sandstone, granite and ceramic tiles were among such features. The influence of the constructionist and functionalist movements is more prominent in individual buildings of that time. A symmetry and a variety of constructive content are emphasized in them. Almost all these artistic phenomena and artists, in one way or another, were related with the most important artistic cultural center in the Vilnius region, the art faculty of Vilnius Steponas Batoras University, which was re-established in 1919. The artist Ferdinandas Ruščicas established the faculty and was the head of it until 1932. The faculty had art and architecture departments. The latter operated until 1926. The art department had workshops of painting, graphic arts, sculpture and arts and crafts, carpet weaving, bookbinding and printing. A photography studio managed by the photo chronicler Janas Bulhanas, which contributed a great deal to the consolidation of the concept of photography as art, is worth mentioning as well. Local artists and artists who came from Poland taught at the faculty. They paid much attention to the practical skills of the speciality. In addition to the painters and architects, drawing teachers, art researchers and monument restorers were also trained here. Lecturers represented different artistic trends and currents, and because they were involved in the cultural life of Vilnius together with their students, they probably had the greatest influence on the city's artistic atmosphere. In addition to university education, it was also possible to receive art education of a lower level at the art faculty. Famous artists taught art basics at Vilnius Gymnasium, and in 1921, on the initiative of the active Vilnius Artists Association, the drawing school was established. Later it was called the School of Arts and Crafts, and its contribution to popularizing aesthetic culture in the Vilnius region and raising the level of local crafts was especially significant. After Vilnius and the Vilnius region were returned to Lithuania, Steponas Batoras University was reorganized. In 1940, in the former premises of the art faculty, the Vilnius Art School was opened, which, starting from 1942, was called the Vilnius Art Academy. Most former lecturers of the art faculty went to Poland, and after joining together in the newly established Torun University, they extended the artistic traditions of Vilnius during the post-war period.